We are the Undivided Bridge Podcast, a congregation of young voices from the neighborhoods of Chicago who wants to close the gap between people who may never cross paths otherwise. As the modern world continues to change rapidly, we must adapt together as a city. So, on this podcast, we have conversations about anything that affects our everyday life, how we eat, how we learn, how we create, and how we plan for the future. So, join us on this journey as we discover more about the communities around us and to do our part to talk solutions for the greater good.
You know, I have a lot of respect for Mayor Lori Lightfoot because she did a lot of initiatives during her one term of 4 years that no other mayors had done before. And I know things change, but, you know, considering like this space here was an initiative that, you know, a good colleague and friend, Vanessa Stokes, who had an idea. She saw this vacant lot and she went to the city, and went from a vacant lot to this. And this is a space that's activated and utilized by community members, particularly community members on this block here, and then other people from the community. And, you know, and it was thanks to initiatives from Mayor Lori Lightfoot and her team. And the same with, you know, the development that's coming on at Laramie State Bank that our agency is partnering with to revitalize that block. And in addition, there's probably about $150 million worth of infrastructure work that's going to happen. Infrastructure is development in the street, better sidewalks, bike lane, like flower beds. It's going to be really nice. Give it a couple of years, it'll be really nice. Chicago Avenue in the next, I would say 5 to 6 years, is not going to look nothing like this. Yeah, not going to look anything like this. So, and I'm looking forward to our next mayor-elect, Brandon Johnson, because I'm sure he's probably going to do double what Mary Lightfoot did, because he's from the community. He's from the community. So, you know, and when you're from the community and a part of the community, you have that passion, which is first. You have that passion first to make sure that your community is taken care of.
So I do have a question. My name is Chloe again, and I'm from Oak Park. Can you touch more on the idea of the initiatives that Lori Lightfoot did to help the community? Because I know a lot of people think that she didn't do anything, but as a Black woman, there's a lot of roadblocks that are put in place so that we can't get things done. So would you touch more?
So going back to the renovation of the Laramie State Bank building, that was part of what was called the Invest Southwest project. Mm-hmm. And Invest Southwest was a project where the mayor's office took a specific approach to make sure that Black and brown communities were invested in. Right. And so the first time in probably 15 years, maybe more than that, I want to say probably 40 years or more, you saw West Side and South Side Black and brown communities having investments made in order for developments to take place. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how much it costs for this development here, but it was an initiative that part of Invest Southwest, where dollars came into the community to make a difference. I can tell you that our renovation project, the Laramie State Bank, just for the residential piece, is about $49 million. For the renovation of the bank, it's going to be another $15 million. This building right here, where Sweets Cheesecake, so that's actually being developed by another partner group, which is Westside Health Authority. And they receive some city dollars to get that done as well. And so in addition to the infrastructure work that's happening, hold on one second. In addition to the infrastructure work that's going to happen, there's another $5 million. And that's an approximate because I don't have my numbers in front of me, but there are multiple businesses that are being renovated up and down the Chicago Avenue corridor so that Chicago Avenue can be known as what we call the Soul City Corridor. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
And a lot of that came out of this past administration. Some of it started with the previous administration, but not to the capacity that we'll be seeing take place over the next few years.
Their chili is good.
Yeah. And I shouldn't say that, like I said, Mayor-elect Johnson, he's from the community. I'm sure he's probably going to do as much, if not more, for the Black and brown communities because he has a very strong focus for youth. So, we'll be able to see more things happening for our youth.
Okay, outing. My name's Keishjuan, so transitioning into that, I wanted to know, how did you get started in the work that you do today?
So housing. So, this is a busy street. I didn't realize how busy the street is. A busy street. So I'm the executive director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center. I've been there since 2015 in multiple capacities. And my journey into housing, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
So my husband passed away, my daughter is 25, about 24 years ago. When he passed away, I had multiple pieces of property and I just couldn't figure out what to do with it. So I learned about a HUD agency. And I was so shocked to learn about a HUD agency. I felt like many people should know about a HUD agency. Are you all familiar with the HUD agency?
I heard about it, but I like more of it.
So HUD is the Housing of Urban Development through the federal government. And what happened, I needed to understand how to save my properties. I had some going into foreclosure. I had multiple properties. I was a widow, single mom. So you can imagine I was a start like, and I was young. What do I do? How do I handle this? And I met this young lady who said, don't worry. There's help out there for you. And when I learned about that, I felt like, wow, everybody should know what HUD has to offer. And ever since then, I made it a mission of mine to work with agencies that focused on housing in Black and brown communities, particularly for women of color. And that's how I got into the work that I'm doing. And I know people say, well, Oak Park Regional Housing Center, how do they focus in Black and brown communities? Well, one of the goals of Oak Park Regional Housing Center when it was developed in 1972 was to help Oak Park become an open community and welcoming primarily to Black people then, because you all probably don't know, and we can have another session.
Oak Park used to be a sundown town. It's still regarded as a sundown town.
It was a sundown town, but other than that, when there was a thing called white flight. Are you all familiar with white flight? And then redlining. So there were people in Oak Park who said, okay, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to support, Black people coming in, because at the time, Blacks were migrating from the South and they were landing where? Right here in Austin.
Yep, I can vouch for that. My family's from Mississippi.
And when they landed in Austin, white people started moving, and they started. So as Black people came into Austin, white people started going west, and Black people were following them. But what Oak Park did, Oak Park said, okay, we're going to be steadfast, and we're going to welcome you in, and we're not going to run. So they eliminated white flight, eliminated redlining, and opened the community up to what was called the first. Oak Park was one of the first open communities in the nation in the late 70s to welcome Blacks into the community. So that work came through Oak Park Regional Housing Center. And I ended up there because in 2015, because of my experience of learning about HUD, I was going around trying to find housing agencies to help other people. And so when I found Oak Park Regional Housing Center, I was like, wow, this is a diamond in the rough. Nobody knows that you're here doing this work, particularly helping people become homeowners and helping people save their homes, which was the major piece that I was going through when I learned about HUD. So I started there in 2015, and here I stand now, the executive director. So.
Okay, so we were talking about this a little bit when we first pulled up, but can you share what you guys were gonna do with the building?
Yeah. So when I became ED just before COVID, like 6 months after I became ED, COVID happened. Everything was shut down. So now I have to try to figure out, okay, what do I do about this agency? And I always wanted to do more for the agency. So then the opportunity for the RFP. So RFP is a request for a proposal to do a project. So an RFP came available for the Laramie State Bank project. And so I was looking for partners. I ended up partnering with the group, and the goal of the RFP was to create dense housing. So dense housing is when you have a lot of people in a small condensed area so that you can get more housing, right? So we partnered with our architects, we partnered with all of our consulting developers, construction team, and we created a 78-unit building. I'll show you when we get back over there. I have pictures in the car. And we created a 78-unit building. So we're going to build on the vacant lot, and then in the corner we're going to build a 78-unit building. In front, there will be a courtyard between the building and the bank. Then we're going to renovate the bank building, and we're partnering with a coffee shop to be in the bank building that's going to double to train workforce development, to train youth and others to either run a coffee shop or learn how to franchise or own a coffee shop. And then we'll have a traditional bank there, a traditional bank in the sense of a bank that's already established that could help provide small business loans, home loans to the community. And then the upstairs will be a small business incubator, in addition to just an open concept space for meetings, conferences in the community, things like that. So and then we're also in during the project, we've created multiple committees because we can't do it ourselves. And this project is truly about the community. So we created an arts and culture community. We created a economic development committee, and we also created a public safety committee. Oh, you want to walk? So what do you think?
I think that, thank you. So what I really think that needs to go on, I know the listening and all that is cool, but that's what we have to circles and that's what we have confidence for. So I think we're currently working on that problem. I think that we need more access to profitable opportunities so we can be able to do a lot more and be able to still do the recreational activities that we do as teams and still be able to, if need be, pay bills, because a lot of us, we do different things, we go through a lot of different situations, and I feel like internships and volunteer work are the goals so far. I know a lot of us aren't comfortable speaking up on this, but I definitely am because I do get paid for my art. So when I think of things that need to happen, it's definitely getting more profitable opportunities, whether that's internships and Chicago Housing Authority. Me, I'm an artist, so I like more access to opportunities where I can do murals, where I can do art installations and all that good stuff.
Thank you. I agree. And then also to add on to that, I feel like the disconnect between the older and younger generation is, me personally, I think that there's some type of resentment from both sides. So the older generation is like, oh, we had to struggle. We didn't have any resources and things like that. We did the best that we could with what we had. And I think the young adult or the young people are like, we understand that, but it's different. We constantly evolve, and we're trying to heal as well. I think both old people and young people just need healing. I think the world needs healing, and doing the inner work. Because like I said earlier, it often shows
in my
up.
project, y'all.
Yeah, so it often shows up in our day-to-day lives, and like I said earlier, we often internalize white supremacist structures, and I think once we call that out, then we can address a lot of the issues that we face.
So I want to say the work of Oak Park Regional Housing Center really focuses on integration, whether it's residential, economic, but a strong first focus on integration. And I hear what you're saying when I like to use the term institutional racism, because sometimes there are some of us, and when I say us, I'm talking about black folks, who get into some of these institutions and they hold up just as many barriers as white people. So, I don't want to call out one group over the other. I just want to say that we need to work on institutional barriers, which have been focused around or developed due to the racist acts that took place as a result of slavery.
Exactly.
That's how I see it
I agree.
in my 56 years of living.
I was gonna add, yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying, and I think also that is a good learning tool for us, though, to also, like, I know sometimes with the older generations, they may think, like, if younger people speak their mind as, being disrespectful and stuff. But that's why, like earlier when we were saying listen and everything, I think that those people who are more stubborn or institutionalized, like, even though they want to help and like they want to help build their community, there's always room for improvement. And I think some people don't like hearing that, like they
Right.
take offense to
Right.
it. But it's like, I think that's the thing, especially with this podcast, like we want to kind of get people together so that we can come together and think as a collective.
Right.
So
right. And
that's really
good.
important.
That's good.
And then also to be in safe spaces within ourselves so that we are able to sustain and when we're at capacity, pass it on, pass the baton to someone else that can continue to do the work. So, yeah.
So quickly jumping back to the different organizations that you had on this project, how can as a young adult, because I'm 23, how can a young adult be more involved in those communities?
I'm so glad you asked, because I was sitting here in my mind trying to figure that out.
I am an artist.
So,
I really do want to get more involved.
So we have an arts and culture committee that you should definitely sit on. We have a public safety committee, and one of our goals for the summer is to do some door-to-door work. And I like being outside like this, and I see a need for me to be outside right now because I'm looking at a lot of stuff that's happening. There's some other groups right now. There's a group called We Cycle or We Recycle. They actually clean up, so I want to see if they have a little cleanup day because there's some cleanup that needs to happen. So yes, you can join the committee. And in joining the committee, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was interrupting.
I was going to say, in joining the committee, when you volunteer and when you become a part of different things, you have the opportunity to get more exposure.
Right. That's definitely what I'm looking forward to, is more exposure.
More opportunities. So
with that being said, where's a general link or a general resource that I can get access to all of these? Is it your email? Is it your number?
Yeah, you can connect, send tap. Actually, I'm going to set up another meeting with some of the people from the committees.
Okay.
And we will reconvene and talk about it more in depth. So
go ahead, you're our guest. So since I'm already on the mic, I gotta ask, put it in perspective again. I mentioned earlier that I'm from Laramie and Fulton, so whenever I went into this bank, it wasn't known as a bank to me during that time. I actually was a furniture store.
Oh, so you remember when it was so you still have a good memory because after the furniture store, then it became a banquet hall.
Yep.
After the banquet hall, then it became a party spot.
Yep. I used to have birthday parties there. I used to have siblings.
And even when it was a furniture, so the same man that owned it when it was a furniture store owned it all the way up until they closed up, and he actually lived here on the top floor.
That's what I used to hear. But people used to tell me that to scare me.
No, that's his picture.
Get out of town.
That's him.
I always wonder who that was.
That's him. His name was John Young.
I'm glad we're having this interview.
Yeah, his name was John Young, and when he bought this place, he had the furniture store, which is the Potpourri Furniture Liquidator, and he sold the furniture out of that little small space over there and some here. And then after that, it closed the furniture piece, and he always lived on the top floor. So that entire top floor that we're going to convert to a business incubator is where he used to live. And so it went from the furniture to he had a deli in there also.
Yeah.
And then it went to a banquet hall, then a party place, and then it closed down.
That's crazy. See, I knew everybody was like, a furniture store? What are you
It
talking
was.
about? Like,
That's
I remember.
So you can remind them. That's why I say Potpourri Furniture Liquidator, and that's him. That's him up there on the pictures. That's John Young.
I said earlier, but I never got into detail. When I was younger, my older cousins, they used to confirm that there was somebody living up there. They used to say like, living up there. Because I was a little kid, and you tried to scare me. So I'm just now realizing that the person that is living upstairs in question was the person who owned the building.
He owned the building. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess
and
folklore comes to fruition.
he was a black entrepreneur.
That's a very fitting place to have the incubator room.
Yeah.
So, one more question, and I'll pass the mic to my
Can somebody
lovely
take a
host.
picture of that? Yeah.
So this is me speaking for the kids once more. So I like to be getting into real estate very soon. I know there's a lot of people on who want to get into real estate. We actually have another host she just snapped. So since you're working with the Housing Authority of Oak Park,
Housing Center.
because
there is a housing authority.
Oh, so there's
an Oak Park Housing Authority. Yeah, there's the Oak Park Housing Authority, which is led by a different group, and that group focuses on voucher holders, like Section 8 voucher holders, housing choice voucher holders. That group focuses on that. Then we're Oak Park Regional Housing Center, and we actually help people, of all incomes find apartments and become homeowners.
So, as a 23-year-old, I look at the housing market and I feel like I'm in trouble. And I feel like a lot of people older than me feel like the same way. So, as a person who's very much interested in staying in the community, wanting to invest in the community, what are resources that I could use right now that I can get started on? So by the time I'm like 27, 28, and so on, I'm still having access to those same resources and be able to own a house.
So one of the things that we do at the Housing Center as a HUD agency, we help people become homeowners, we help people find rental apartments.
Okay.
And we literally sit down with our clients. First, we take them through a group education, and we teach them the different things they need to know about whichever route you decide to go. Then we do a one-on-one meeting with our clients, and we give them a financial assessment and a mortgage readiness evaluation. Okay. And basically, they look at we give you a credit report for free, the same credit report that the landlords and the mortgage lenders pull. And our team sit down with you and go through everything, help you understand your credit report, and help you build a 90-day action plan to improve your credit if it's needed, or to also help you figure out how to save a certain amount of money. Because the goal is to come in, so if you're having those type of reservations, our team work with you to teach you what you need to know to get to where you need to be, either for stabilized renting or to become a homeowner. And even if no matter your age, whatever age it is, I mean, if you're, the biggest thing is we gotta have jobs, right?
Right.
So, and then when you sit down with our counselor, I mean, we do a lot of referrals. We do referrals for, like, if you're in a job that you're not happy about, it's okay, here, you can go here for workforce development. You can look here to try to find a new job. If you have student loans, our team knows how to balance out your student loans through your action plan to help you figure out how to get to the next level.
Yeah.
That's the next question.
Yeah,
so if you want, I mean, we can do a podcast on how to become a homeowner or how to be a renter, period. If we can do it, if just saying. Just a real, like, something short, to give it like an overall view, and then of course people can take the classes, and we do classes regularly.
Okay. Well, yeah, because we have like a couple of preset questions already, but then we were also thinking of like some other questions that we could think. But I think we could definitely talk about that like during the actual interview piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be really important. Because I know we were talking about this before you came. How like the older generations are saying like, oh, why do our kids still stay with us? And I think our main concern is like, even if we did want to live on our own, it's the whole thing of getting a job, saving enough money, and then finding a place that's not like super expensive, but then you get nice spacing. So yeah, like the younger generation is kind of like discouraged from moving out because it's just really inconvenient, and then we don't want to be really stressed out about like paying all these bills.
Well, so I'm gonna say this. So sometimes other cultures, other groups of color, they encourage not just their young people to stay home, but they encourage each other to stay home, save your money, become independent while you're dependent, and then move out to where you can afford it, and then help somebody else to do that. I've been trying to encourage my daughter to stay home to save a nice down payment assistance so that I don't have to come up with it for her. So that sometimes we should do that, and it's often where in the business we're in, we see all cultures looking for homes, looking for rental apartments, and more times than not, it's our Black families that are not doubling up in their homes. We've seen groups where 4 or 6 families are buying one home together so that they can save their money. And then they move out and they come back to us and say, okay, we're ready to buy another house or another 2-flat, or this group wants to rent. So it's options and it's reasons for it, and it works.
Well, thank you so much, Athena. This is a great interview, and we're excited to do the other interview and podcast episode. So yeah, I'm Chloe.
I'm Ciara.
I'm Keishjuan. Thank you guys.
Nice to meet you all.